James Franco, Gene Wilder, monkeys named after salads. What do these two movies hold in common? Absolutely nothing. But which one is better? We're going to find out.
Hello Internet, welcome to another episode of Cinema Brawls. I'm Matt.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Daniel.
And today we are going to be discussing Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory versus Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is a 1971 movie starring Gene Wilder and directed by Mel Stewart. It is awesome. It's about a kid that goes to the chocolate factory. You know the story. You've seen it.
You felt it.
Felt it. You know what I'm talking about.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes is a 2011 movie about monkeys starring James Franco and directed by Rupert Wyatt.
All right, let's get started with a few first impressions. I'll go ahead and start. Willy Wonka's a classic. Come on.
It totally is.
And Planet of the Apes was a classic. Rise of the Planet of the Apes was fine, but I don't know, it just seemed a little random, like a remake. It's not really a remake.
First of all, it's a prequel.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I said it's not really a remake.
It's a solid prequel.
It is a great prequel.
I have no problems with updating the story and using better technology and stuff to make the monkeys look good. But I like Willy Wonka because it's just chock full of so much charm. It is chocolate full of so much charm. And that is where I step out.
Well, great. I would like to disagree with you. My first impressions are that Rise of the Planet of the Apes is a solid movie. Great CGI in it, in my opinion. I really like the idea, and I like to see how the Planet of the Apes came about. Well, I'm not saying Willy Wonka is bad in any way. Right. In fact, compared to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that movie was boom. And then you're right, it is a classic. And it's probably more of a classic than Rise of the Planet of the Apes. But that trilogy really got me. I was really into it. There's just something about, intelligent, what are they called? Apes. Really makes me wonder, man.
See, I wasn't disagreeing with you. I like the CGI. I think it looks really good.
Oh, I know, but
I'm voting for Willy Wonka.
Nah, I'm voting for Planet of the Apes.
I honestly sixes either way for me. It could go either way. I'm not totally for or against either one right now. So
sure, cool. Well, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and deliberate? Bring your hands in.
I'm on the bottom.
On your mark, get set, brawl! Let's start with the story. Keep in mind, this is using our new updated scoring system, and if you don't know what that is, go ahead and watch our last random brawl.
Which is going to be in this corner.
Okay, so the story of Rise of the Planet of the Apes is basically taking the original classic movie that where the guy comes back from space and finds out the Earth is, I guess he thinks it's a different planet for most of the movie.
Right.
Finds out that it's been taken over by apes, and then finds out that it's actually, Earth. Well, somebody decided, how did it get to this point? They wrote a movie about it, and that movie was good. The story was really intelligent and actually, pretty emotional, especially the way James Franco's character bonds with Caesar the monkey, and that a lot of it focuses on that relationship. Mm-hmm. And you don't really see that kind of relationship too often unless you're watching Friends.
Good bonding moments.
Right. Good bonding moments between a man and his monkey.
Well, yeah, but so is Willy Wonka. It has so many bonding moments between Charlie, his grandpa, and everybody wanting to bond with Willy Wonka, but deciding really fast that might not be a good idea.
Might not be a great idea. Yeah, no.
But it has the same kind of bonds.
I don't think it does. I mean, if anything, it's got too many of those kind of bonds. I mean,
bonds.
a few things. One, you can't focus as intelligently on one bond. But the other thing is, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory has a good story. It's interesting, and it's kind of fun to go through and see this magical factory built by this magic man, and this kid, learning to do whatever it is Willy Wonka teaches him to do.
No one's really.
It's been a while since you've seen it, haven't you?
Rise of the Planet of the Apes was Terminator, but instead of robots, it was apes.
That's a weird comparison, but at least to me,
wrong.
I don't think it's an awful comparison by any means, but that's just kind of weird. Sorry. I like both movies. I really liked in Rise of the Planet of the Apes how the story focused on, the characters and stuff like that, but also the characters, how the choices impacted the whole world. Like how, because of the testing that they had done on the apes, it was actually, it could hurt other people and pass that virus around. That's why most of the people had died in the world. But that also the reason why they were doing that, all those tests, was to cure Alzheimer's because James Franco's dad. And that was just super, emotional for me, that relationship.
The story had really good arcs with its characters.
For sure. It's a very well-crafted, very tight story.
Right.
See, my problem is I like Willy Wonka's story because of how simple it is. It's based on a children's book, it's delightful, and it really brought the magic of the book to the screen. You can see it, you can feel it, and it's simple. You don't have to think too hard on it. And I like the story of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I do. It's
definitely a heavier story.
It's a heavy story, and I do like how intricately woven into the movie it's trying to predate,
Granted, the story is heavier, but I think that's a good thing. And I like how it shows the little impacts, even the choices that one person was making to try and be helpful led to devastating consequences worldwide. And that's just sometimes something that we as people can't predict.
For sure.
And Willy Wonka is simpler, but it's more fun. That story is simpler, but I don't feel like it's as well crafted as all the events that connected together in Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, but it has a lot more hope to it, Like, you put yourself in Charlie's shoes, it's like, hey, this can happen to anybody. This great opportunity can happen to anybody. That includes you.
It does not include you. Give up on your dreams.
How dare
you as well.
All right, let's decide. I am still voting for Willy Wonka.
I'm voting for Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I think it has a better story.
To be honest, I'm gonna vote for Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I like that story really well, actually.
All right, well, so let's move on to characters then, where I am coming back with a vengeance. I think, besides Caesar, he has a lot of character and he doesn't even talk through most of it. And James Franco is great, and like we mentioned, the relationship is great. Willy Wonka has a lot more colorful characters, a lot more memorable characters too.
You're right, it does, but do those characters connect nearly as much as the two that we see on screen?
Yes.
Well, here's my question about the characters of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. What's James Franco's character's name? Without looking it up.
And then we just kept saying James Franco.
It's James Franco. It's like Will Smith. At a certain point, it's just James Franco.
Fair, but what's his character?
Okay, but why can't I remember the monkey's name?
Because he was a lot better of a character.
He was.
He's the main focus.
The main character is a monkey, and he's memorable. Name all 4 kids in Willy Wonka that die.
Veruca Salt.
Oh my gosh.
Violet
Beauregard.
I wanted to say Baudelaire, but that's a totally different vibe.
Augustus.
Mike TV, Augustus Gloop. Dang it.
Just
Caesar. My victory here.
is a monkey that we get to watch grow up and take on heavy leadership roles. And I am very invested in that monkey.
What matters to me and why I'm voting for Willy Wonka for characters is because there are a lot more memorable characters in Willy Wonka that you feel more for than
I did not feel for any one of those characters.
I mean, they got what they deserved, but
They didn't get what they deserve.
Right. They are memorable, but I did not feel more for them.
I'm voting for Willy Wonka.
That was a problem for me. And I'm voting for Rise of the Planet of the Apes on that one. Because I have much more emotional connection to those characters.
Not backing down. Neither am I.
I'm gonna go with Rise of the Planet of the Apes for this one too.
Bingo!
I think that they, just because of the nature of the type of movie, I liked the characters in Willy Wonka, but I think that the characters are better and more well-rounded in Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Merits in genre.
No, rewatchability is always fair.
Rewatchability.
Rewatchability.
Gosh dang it, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is rewatchable.
Dang right it is.
And while I don't want it to have this point, it's hard to say no.
That means we have to talk about the other two.
Because for one thing, to rewatch Rise of the Planet of the Apes, you also have to watch the 2 movies after that.
Exactly.
And then you gotta come back and
that's what I
watch that. And it's one of those movies where it's like, this is, really good story, really good character arc, but you're not going to keep watching it over and over. Once a year if you really like the trilogy.
If I'm just going to sit down and watch a movie, I'd much rather watch Willy Wonka. Because, again, it's simple, it's fun, and it's delightful. It just has so much charm.
You technically could leave off on the first Rise of the Planet of the Apes and still be like, oh, that's a good transition into Planet of the Apes. It works.
You could, and honestly, I didn't think it was necessary to have the 2 sequels.
Right. It's a self-contained story, at least, which is good for something that actually has 3 parts.
So was Willy Wonka. Technically, the book it's based off has a sequel.
It does?
Yeah. It's called Charlie and the Glass Elevator. And it pretty much, like, the last scene in the movie was supposed to be, like, the first part of that book. But they made it so Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, it's like a contained story in and of itself, too.
Which is a little bit shorter, too.
Yeah.
So, easier to sit down with.
Easier to digest.
Fine, we'll give it to Willy Wonka. This is the only point it's getting.
Not true.
This is the only point it's getting.
Not true. Now let's move on to merits in genre. I will fight to the bitter end for Willy Wonka because it's a classic.
So it's Planet of the Apes?
No, it's not.
Planet of the Apes is Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Did it contribute to the classicness that was Planet of the Apes?
But did it need to exist?
It did.
Sure, it contributes.
And I enjoyed
because
that it exists.
I mean, sure, it contributes, but did it need to?
Yes.
But why?
I think that story needed to be told.
I think it's a good story to be told, and don't get me wrong, I think that it did great for that story. But I'm trying to think of like the genre as a whole, the whole like a sci-fi, small sci-fi with a big idea type genre. Did it do a lot for that?
If we're talking Planet of the Apes, it did a ton for the sci-fi genre.
Can we name a better one though?
A better version of Rise of the Planet?
No, just like a better like big idea sci-fi movie.
I liked Moon better. Just like off the top of my head, it's weird because in my opinion at least, Rise of the Planet of the Apes kind of is its own sub genre kind of a thing.
That's right. It created its genre. That's how good Planet of the Apes was.
I could argue the same thing about Willy Wonka.
What genre is Willy Wonka?
I mean, it could
Roald Dahl family movie?
Roald Dahl, yeah. I mean, it could be like a fantasy thing because there's some magic involved, but it's also modernized. I'll admit it's a little dated, like with the way they dress, the way they talk. Like, yeah, it's a 70s movie, and it's easy to tell. But I don't know, like
It's still fun. It's still a classic. I think that
Willy Wonka blew its genre out of the water.
yeah.
But so did Planet of the Apes.
I think
This is just
this is weird because we're discussing these movies in 2018 between 2019 between like 47 and 7 years later. So it's weird to talk about movies that are just from completely different time periods with different aesthetics, different markets that they were being put out into, things like that. I think that overall, probably Willy Wonka, to be honest, just because it's one of those movies that, again, 47 years later, we watch it. It's on TV still. It's you can buy it at Walmart still, things like that.
Yeah, like if we bring it up in conversation, it's relevant and people know what it is. Like, I mean, I'm not saying people don't know what Rise of the Planet of the Apes is, but just the fact that it's been around for nearly 50 years and it's still in like the forefront of pop culture.
I vote Planet of the Apes.
You prideful. I'm still voting for Willy Wonka. I think it's still relevant today after 50 years.
I'm still gonna vote for Willy Wonka too.
Yeah, I was struggling on that one. It was definitely Willy Wonka.
It's all tied up.
I did not deserve that point.
So is this gonna be a tiebreaker round then?
And the category is emotional impact, and you know so well.
I was crying at the end.
So was I.
I mean, I will say that Willy Wonka was more of a roller coaster of emotions. Everything from joy of getting the ticket, just straight terror of that weird
Boat
log
thing.
flume ride, and then
That was a weird scene. Roll clip.
The danger must be growing, for the rowers keep on rowing, and they're certainly not showing any signs that they are slowing.
All right.
you see what I mean? It goes from the really high highs to like really weird lows. But I think that with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, it's got a strong central message and core and a strong center that it builds around, and that leads to a more cathartic emotion, if that makes sense.
You're right. It's Willy Wonka holds your emotion more throughout the whole movie. From, like you said, getting the ticket, to Grandpa getting out of bed, to these awful, terrible children getting wrecked by squirrels.
Specifically.
I mean, the whole time he's just like, wow, this is amazing. You're on a kind of a high. Whereas, and that's what Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was going for, is to make you feel that kind of sense of wonder. Whereas Planet of the Apes wants you to, I guess, feel more emotion towards, the oppressed monkeys and their rise.
Like, I think that there's a higher level of emotion in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but there's more different emotions in Willy Wonka. But like you said, at the end of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I almost felt like crying because, of everything that was going on. But Willy Wonka, you're just kind of sitting there like, regardless of what's going on, even though the emotions of the characters are going crazy, so I don't know. I'm gonna vote for Rise of the Planet of the Apes for this one.
I've been voting for Willy Wonka this whole time. I don't see that changing.
Can you give me more reason? Because I want Planet of the Apes to win this. I know it needs the point. But in all fairness, I think they both stand a pretty good chance on this one.
Yeah, alright. Well, so with Willy Wonka, it's like I said it at the beginning of this episode, it is just packed with so much charm. Yeah, it has some kind of terrifying moments, but the whole point of the movie is to be like kind of a magical, hopeful thing. Charlie comes from dirt level, and he has problems with his mom, and his grandparents are all there, and there's just, he doesn't fit in at school, and then he gets this amazing opportunity. I think of emotional impact as like, well, what if I were in Charlie's scenario? How would I feel? And then, then it's a roller coaster while they're at the factory. And I think just, even though Daniel doesn't like the end scene, I think it just comes full circle. Like, yeah, you did kind of mess up. You're back at the bottom level, but here's another great opportunity. Like, this can happen to anybody.
Okay, well, you're voting Willy Wonka. I really am on the edge between both. And I think that just shows how close these movies are. They're both really good movies.
Which is weird because you wouldn't think about that.
Right.
Just right out the gates.
Well, that's the point of the show, is to put two random crap movies together and see which one's better for why.
Right.
And they are both really good movies for different reasons. And
choice.
With how close it is, I'm still going to give it to Planet of the Apes. And not just because I want the movie, but I did feel like I walked out of that movie with more of a sense of wow.
Okay. So, I guess our winner is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. But let it be said that Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is a classic, and if you haven't seen it, please do.
Please. I mean,
yeah, I mean, leave in the comment section below which one you think should win, but as far as we go, the winner's Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
yeah, definitely. Tell us what you think. I mean, we're just three idiots. We don't know what we're talking about.
So, let's bring up the
Cinema! Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Oh, that was quick. Go ahead, Daniel.
Oh my.
The Muppets movie.
And I've got Dodgeball, a true underdog story.
Okay, so finally
All
two
right.
comedies. Weird. This hasn't really happened.
Raunchy comedy versus family comedy. All right.
All right, guys, join us next time as we discuss the Muppet movie and Dodgeball, a true underdog story.
And Matt's double chin.